A warm welcome to everyone who's joining us. I'm just going to wait a few minutes before we officially start. I can see people are slowly joining, so welcome everyone on this Friday. Great, it looks like the numbers are stabilizing, so welcome everyone. It's Friday. I don't know where you are, all in the UK or overseas, but here in London, the sun is shining and I hope you're all keeping well and safe, firstly. Thank you so much for joining today. I'm so delighted to be facilitating the Insurance Industry Charitable Foundation second webinar. My name is Tally. I'm an HR professional and a D&I advocate. I love the title of this program for today, Being Heard, the Many Voices of Diversity. I'm going to just start by sharing a bit more about IICF, also known as the Insurance Industry Charitable Foundation. It aims to be a catalyst for impactful charitable giving, inspiring people in insurance to make a positive difference in our local communities. Through its grants program on social mobility, the IICF connects companies and charities to create access to diverse talent and a more vibrant, inclusive profession. This year marks the 5th year anniversary in the UK for IICF, and since its launch, we've helped more than 2,000 people in local communities across the country. And we brought together more than 1,000 industry leaders to volunteer, make new connections, and develop meaningful, long-lasting ideas to the industry and our society. And how relevant does that feel here today in a pandemic? And IICF has continued to make a difference during the COVID by developing Community Relief Fund. The industry-wide campaign raised over £100,000 and helped more than 1,000 vulnerable people across the country. We now recognise from this crisis, from the pandemic that is going on, it's going to take time to rebuild. And it's not going to be easy, and it brings new challenges to our local communities. And one such issue is the digital exclusion, which we're all witnessing, creating a generation of young people without access to internet or technology to services. IICF is proud to announce their second campaign, Revitalising Communities Fund, and we would be humbled and we would love to invite you to make a donation at the end of this webinar. Thank you so much for any donations that you can make, truly appreciative. So a bit more about this series, Being Heard, the Many Voices of Diversity, which is taking a detailed look at how the COVID-19 crisis has impacted us all and how we can build back in a more sustainable and inclusive manner. There is little doubt that 2020 will last a long time in our memory. We've seen major changes in how society functions and had some of our own human basic needs compromised. Remember the days when we can give a hug to someone we love, a handshake, something so simple and empowering, and something that our human connection so needs. But when stripped of the ability to be physically interactive, these moments have absolutely offered us all an opportunity to reflect, to look inwards and use the time to look at us and what truly makes us and what is important for us. So this is what today's webinar is about, featuring the award-winning Suzanne Jacobs, the founder of The Seven, and Rebecca Lilly, the founder of Passage to Poise. This event will look at how we prioritise our self-worth and purpose, and the positive impacts doing so can have on our personal lives and our careers. We will first hear from Jenna Chick, who will describe how SmartWorks charity harnesses the power of clothes and confidence to allow women to be her best self and succeed at interviews and transform her life. A few housekeeping. I would please ask if you've got any questions, put them through the Q&A or chat box. Any technical issues that you might be experiencing, again, put them through the Q&A and chat box and we will definitely come back to you. I really hope we'll have some time for Q&A because I mean the content here today will be absolutely valuable and inspirational. So now it gives me great pleasure to introduce Jenna Chick, who manages corporate and retail partnership at SmartWorks Charity. Jenna, welcome to today.
Thank you so much. Hi everybody, it's such a pleasure to be here. Only wish I could be here obviously to see you all in person, but it's absolutely brilliant to be here and to be part of what's such an interesting and exciting topic, and a topic that's really relevant to the work that we do at SmartWorks Charity. So in a nutshell, some of you might already know, we've been kindly supported by IICF in previous years. SmartWorks is a charity that harnesses the power of clothing and confidence, as Talia says, to help an unemployed woman be the best version of herself before an upcoming job interview. So we're a UK-wide charity. We've got offices across the UK, and we deliver our core service, which is a dressing and coaching session for a woman who has an upcoming job interview and needs a little bit of help to prepare herself for the opportunity. So we offer an hour's dressing session. So she has an hour where she can choose a completely free interview outfit of beautiful, high quality clothing that's donated by lots of kind brands, companies and individuals. And then also an hour of bespoke one-to-one interview coaching where she can talk about what she wants to put forward in the interview, discuss her CV, and can just really feel bolstered in her skill set and ready to take on the opportunity. And this whole service is run by incredible, amazing, kind volunteers, generous people who give their time and skills and expertise to empower. A lot of our volunteers are women, but some men too, but really it's that sense of female empowerment and having this kind of community of people that believe in your ability to succeed. And it's a really powerful thing. And it's much more than the clothing that we give a woman. It's the way that it makes her feel. I think we can all kind of identify with that feeling of when you feel like you look really, really good and you feel really great in yourself, then your confidence just shines through and you're in the best place you possibly can be to talk about your abilities, your experiences, and the journey that kind of has got you to the place that you're in today. And that's the case for lots of our clients. To talk about the kind of women who come to see us at SmartWorks, we do work with women from some of the most vulnerable backgrounds that we kind of know in the UK at the moment. So everyone who comes to us for a SmartWorks appointment is referred to us by another organisation, so a referral partner. So that could be the job centre. We're very lucky that the job centres can remain open during this new lockdown. So we're looking to help a lot of women who are still coming to job centres, but also homeless shelters, mental health charities, mental health organisations, young people's charities like the Prince's Trust. We work with a wide range of women. Really, there's no typical SmartWorks client, but lots of them have been employed for a long time. Half last year were unemployed for over a year, and a quarter of them had applied to over 50 jobs, and lots of them over 100 jobs. Lots of them are single mothers. Lots of them are from a wide range of ethnic backgrounds. Lots of them identify as having a disability. Some of them are in care. So we're really working with women who have had a knock to their confidence, whether it's they were in work for a long time and then they've had to take time out of work due to caring for a family member, or there might be a young person going for their first kind of work experience or internship and trying to make a really positive first step in their career. But at SmartWorks, we aim to make sure that they are in the best position to get the job. And we're happy to say that currently 65% of them do get the job within a month of coming to see us, which is a stat that we're really, really proud of and that we're hoping that we can obviously maintain and build upon during this time. I mean, it's worth saying that obviously our in-person service of dressing and coaching in one of our centres has obviously been tricky to deliver this year. We have been able to slowly deliver it kind of in the sandwich period between lockdown 1 and lockdown 2. But what's been something that we're so proud of this year is that we've been able to offer our service virtually. There's not been a day this year where we haven't been able to help a woman. We've quickly shifted on to offering Zoom interview coaching, offering coaching over the phone, but also putting together a package of workwear to send direct to her door. So our office, actually, as we speak, luckily someone was able to have access to the office to make up 15 packages today, because referrals are still coming in. People do still have interviews, and whether Zoom interviews or also interviews for positions in the NHS, positions in retail, kind of the places that are still hiring at the moment, and that it's really vital that we get people to support us in this country. We feel very lucky that we're able to lend a hand and help these women kind of continue and soldier on, because it is a very difficult time for unemployment in general, female unemployment specifically. And we're really finding that our service is still needed. There are still women who need our help, and we will absolutely endeavour to help them whenever we can and as often as we can. We've also launched a secondary service of career coaching at SmartWorks. So a woman might not have an interview, but she can still come and have time with one of our coaches about how to start looking for work, how to bolster up her CV, and how to really use this time to prepare to then kind of seek employment again. So we've been helping, in the first 6 months, we supported 500 women with our core service virtually and a further 300 with career coaching. So it's really kind of still moving for us. We are desperate to still help women look and feel amazing, even if they can't, like you said, have a hug from one of our volunteer stylists in the dressing room, or shake the hand of an interview coach. We want to create that hugging, handshaking feeling, kind of remotely, and we've been able to help women all across the UK with that service, even if they wouldn't normally be able to reach a Smart Work centre. So we're still going with the help of our amazing retail and corporate supporters that I feel very lucky to work with. So it's just events like these that are amazing to really bolster the message that SmartWorks delivers, but also to be able to meet all of you and to let you know what we're up to. We, as I said, we're a charity, so we fundraise. So there's lots of fundraising opportunities you can get involved with. You can donate your clothing to a SmartWorks centre if you have workwear that now working from home has deemed not useful and sitting in your wardrobe. But you can also volunteer your time as well by applying for one of our volunteering programmes. Which is amazing. The absolutely amazing Nicola Numa, who I think is on this call, is one of our brilliant volunteers. And I think she can speak way better than I can if you ever get the chance to meet her about how amazing our clients are and working with them is. I think I might just end by reading a couple of quotes that I've managed to pull together from women who have received the SmartWorks service during lockdown and kind of what that means to them. The first one is from a lady called Joanne, who used to work for one of the airlines and was made redundant over this time and had worked in that airline for a very long time, as had her mother. I think that's the case for lots of people who've worked in a lot of airlines who have found themselves without work, but she received our virtual service and secured a business management role, and she kindly emailed us over what she thought when she received her package. So she said, "I got the job. Thank you so much for everything SmartWorks has done in helping me secure the job. The note inside the package gave me so much strength when I needed it. I can finally give my little girl the life she deserves, and it's all thanks to your team." And then the other one was a lady called Deborah, who received our virtual service in August. And she sent us this quote before she'd gone to her interview, but when she just received her package, and she reflected on the experience. And she said, "I was stunned when I received your SmartWorks parcel. The new clothes enabled me to feel confident and competent, which must have reflected during the interview because they offered me the role and I've accepted. I was able to reconnect with my old self, catching a glimpse of the person that I used to be. I'm living proof that your actions really do matter." So yeah, I think our clients always speak much better than I ever could about the impact of our service and the amazing work of our volunteers. So if you want to get involved with SmartWorks, you can contact us on our website. We're on Instagram and Twitter at SmartWorks Charity. I think on Twitter, actually, we're at SmartWorks HQ. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you work for a company that's interested in supporting. And yeah, just stay in touch. And thank you very much for being here and by extension being a part of our community. It really means a lot. Thank you so much.
Oh, Jenna, thank you so much. That was incredibly inspirational and moving. And I think in this time, there definitely is a need to support your charity and also the women out there who are currently looking for roles. That confidence is so important and embodying those moments. So thank you. I'm delighted now to introduce Suzanne Jacobs, recently named as one of the top 100 thought leaders in the world by Trust Across America. Her work on organizational behavior and performance specialist draws on over 28 years of business experience, focusing on trust and intrinsic motivation and helping organizations create sustainable environments where people feel engaged, energized, and inspired to contribute. Suzanne will provide an insight into the science behind our performance, together with practical research-based tools that we practice, boost our inner life so we can be our best version of ourselves. Welcome, Suzanne.
There we go. Hello everybody. It's just such a pleasure. Thank you, Tally. Fantastic to hear from you, Jenna. What an inspiration. Yeah, so whilst we say it's from the inside out, being the best version of yourself, Jenna, you're working on the outside, but you're definitely impacting that inside as well. So it's such a pleasure to be back here again with the IICF. Yes, I'm Suzanne Jacobs. Thank you for the introduction, Tally. So I work with leaders and teams really around getting the best from your brain to boost well-being, performance and resilience. Really, it's around leveraging the skills, the human skills that we need for this fourth industrial age by building human leadership capability through research-based, highly practical tools. What my passion here really is about making flexible work spaces that are human fit. And part of that is about being able to know that we can bring our whole selves, our real selves to work. I want to bring you some of the tools that I deliver as part of my human leadership series. And that's not just about leading others, this is about leading yourself. So to be able to help you explore the best version of you, to be able to dip in and start to uncover what might be getting in your way, and what you could use to propel you forward and to write the story that you want to have. So to start, our brain is exquisitely designed to keep us alive. Its main purpose is our survival. And so we can continue to compete in the gene game beyond our time on the planet. But our brain and our mind, whilst doing their absolute best for us, and that's their intention, can also get in our way. And the way in which it works can sometimes block our path at being the best version of ourselves. So as we learn through our lives, from the point at which we're put on this earth in an unfinished state, we learn what is dangerous, we learn what is safe in our environment, and we create files from all of your experiences, and we file everything away, and those files are called upon to interpret and predict all the sensory information that you take on board every minute of the day, every second of the day. It's about looking and recognizing and interpreting events, and then getting us to act appropriately based on our interpretation, which is really our perception, which is why perception is our reality. Well, interesting enough, these files can sometimes not be helpful. They can actually be incorrect. They also provide us our beliefs, our belief system, the rules by which we live our lives. And most importantly as well, in this talk, it's those beliefs that actually can be also limiting, or of course they can help us reach our potential. It's all about what we say about ourselves and how we filed ourselves away in that filing cabinet. Because there's anatomy really deep inside the midbrain. It's in control. It's your operating system, if you like. It's right inside that midbrain, and it's continually scanning the world using those learnt files, those files across your experience, to analyze data from all your senses. And if that matched file, the one that it pulls the drawer out and it matches it based on the stimulus it's received, suggests a threat, then there's a split-second neurochemical process that's fired up. It arms our bodies to defend or escape. Now, the opposite, if that situation is interpreted by our brain, and remember this is an interpretation exercise that your brain is following, if the situation is deemed to be supporting our survival, then a completely different neurochemical process is triggered. And that one is designed to get us to go further towards the safety zone. And the emotions that we feel in the former, when the brain perceives a threat, are often described as negative or aversive. Now, they're things like anger, frustration, anxiety, sadness, all of those elements. Now, while these aversive signals may not feel pleasant, they actually have a vital role. All emotions have an incredibly vital role. It's where the word emotion comes from, to move, to act appropriate to the situation. Now, they don't feel good for a reason. They're to drive us away from the perceived danger. But in the latter, when we sit on that safety zone, we start to have that reward. We get the good stuff. We get the joy, the excitement, the contentment. We get that sense of I can, things that will propel us forward. And again, it's all designed to actually chemically reward us, to motivate us, to keep us going. The thing is today, and I appreciate, of course, we're in this middle of a physical threat with COVID-19, but most of the threats that we face, particularly in the workplace, tend to be psychological or psychosocial. So it could be the looming deadline, or the difficult conversation, or maybe a betrayal by a friend, maybe a restructure or a change at work. Now, whilst we can rationally argue that these are not life-threatening, our emotional brain and that filing cabinet still treats the response as if it was. So this entire process, and the reason why I'm getting to get to you to be the best version of yourself, and this entire process is happening without any conscious control or even conscious awareness. Because what we become consciously aware of are the stories, the narrative, the words that are sent up, our thoughts that are sent up by our emotional brain. It's sometimes called emotional reasoning. These are the files that are telling us that our behavior is reasonable. You know, this is what I've interpreted, this is how you need to act to keep you safe. That it's correct, it's justifiable. And actually, interesting enough, in emotional intelligence, its absolute core is the deeper capacity to be able to catch these stories, to be able to check out their validity. Remember, they're just thoughts at this point. And once we can observe our thoughts, we can choose, and this is the real key to resilience. It's not about not getting sad or cross or irritated. These are normal responses. It's how quickly we can create the gap between what our brain is telling us and how we choose to respond to an event or a situation or perhaps another person. And actually, that's about, just because our brain sends up a message, a story about what we're telling ourselves about the event, it doesn't mean to say that we have to act in the way it's asking us to do. So the tool I want to be able to give you takes you through a path to catch your stories, to check them out, validate them, and then change them if they need to be changed. So you can then choose your response. So Catch It, Check It, Change It is the name of the tool. There are actually within this many evidence-based techniques, but I want to be able to give you as much as I possibly can today so you've got something to take away with you. So the first one, as it says on the tin here, is to catch it. And the first piece here, and I would stress to practice this, all of these tools work, they're evidence-based, but they do take practice to embed them. But practice it around some of the small stuff, some of the stuff that you might find just a little bit irritating, that's just sort of holding you back, perhaps. But the first one, as I say, is just to acknowledge the emotion. What's the intensity? What is it? Label it. And that's actually what it's called. It's called labeling. This is part of emotional literacy. And sometimes actually in a really mild situation, just the observation that I feel angry or I feel irritated is enough for your rational brain to hear what your emotional brain is saying and go, that's okay, it's normal, I'll hold it there. Perhaps I'll take a deep breath and we'll move on. But actually what I really want to do is follow this through now. So once we've labeled and we've caught that emotion, the next thing is, again, we're catching the story now. We're listening to our inner voice, that emotional reasoning, that narrative sent up by the emotional brain, to tune into the story of our mind, to understand and observe, and this is the important thing, we're observing at this point, how our brains are interpreting the situation and what we're saying to ourselves about ourselves. To remember that the words we're hearing about the situation are signals. They're signals designed and information designed to keep us safe. But that interpretation may not always be correct or helpful in the situation you're facing. Now, the very act of observing these thoughts, and after all, as I said, this is all they are. Thoughts are not facts. We can play those thoughts out and they can become reality. But at this stage of observing, they are just thoughts. It can help with emotional regulation, just to ease and dampen the emotional sensations that we help. So we can start to just check the story out. So actually, as you're holding, if you just imagine holding this story, holding that narrative, just watching those thoughts, quite mindfully really, it leads us to check it out. And writing down these thoughts is really expedites the emotional literacy, the neural connections to be able to see and observe these thoughts. It really helps, isn't it? It helps us dissociate from what the narrative is. To see it on paper, and if you like in black and white, really helps with that emotional regulation. So practicing writing it down is really important. But as we look at them, as we hold them, you know, we're actually asking ourselves, is every single one of those thoughts, is it irrefutable fact? And remember, your midbrain is incredibly strong. It's very powerful. It will feel like, it doesn't like to be wrong. It will be holding it saying, absolutely, it's true. It's definitely true. But actually, when we start to think about it, is it really true? Would somebody else see it this way? Is it irrefutable fact? Or actually, is it false? Is it unlikely to be true in any way, shape or form? Or the last one here is the one where most of our thoughts will sit. You don't know. I simply don't know whether this is true or not. I need to validate it. I need to go and check out the facts. Is it an assumption? Now, it might sound a bit strange, but it can sometimes help some people find it very helpful to name your inner voice, to be able to sort of see it. It's basically a dissociation technique. It can support you to have that step along the way to help, you know, observe what you've said. My neuroscience teacher many years ago, my professor, don't ask me why his inner voice was called Aunt Maud. I don't know who Aunt Maud was. Never thought to ask. But anyway, what he basically said is, just because Aunt Maud says I have to, doesn't mean to say I have to go ahead and do it. But this is where the last piece here. So while we're holding it, we're checking it out. Is it true, false, or I don't know? We actually look to see if we can actually change it. Do we need to change that narrative so that you can choose how you act? Or perhaps you choose a different way of acting. Is there another possible version of events? This is reappraisal, another interpretation. Are there things that you are saying to yourself? Are they things that you would say to a friend or a valued colleague facing the same situation? What would you do if you replayed the situation with another script? One that was kind, one that was compassionate, one that would be the same as you would say or advise a friend. Just because, as I said, your inner voice tells us something, we don't have to comply. We can choose our response to an event. Now, a very quick story. I work with a very senior woman in a pharmaceutical company, and she was very, very kindly in a workshop I ran, shared her inner thoughts around, in this case, presentations. She was extremely senior. Presentations were part of her world. It's what she needed to do. But in terms of actually that emotional response, it was, 15 out of 10. She would run a mile. It would get her heart racing. And we asked her actually, what were those thoughts? And the thoughts actually, what her emotional brain, the story that was turning up was, well, look, if I am asked a question that I don't know the answer to, people won't respect me. And we then said, okay, so if it's true, what does that mean? She said, well, if people don't respect me, I shouldn't be in this job. Okay. Remember, we're very good at what-ifing. If that's true, what does that mean? Well, actually, it means that I probably should leave. And then, oh my goodness, I'll have to take my children out of school and we'll have to move. So in a split second from just hearing the word presentation, her emotional brain had kicked in a very strong threat response to the point at which she was almost leaving her job. So we turned it around and said, okay, well, let's have a look at those thoughts and let's think about what you'd be saying to a friend. So imagine you're walking along the corridor at work and you bump into a colleague, a friend and a colleague, and you said, hi, how are you? What are you up to? Oh, I'm just off to give a presentation to the board. Would you say, oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you? Because actually you may be asked a question you don't know the answer to, and people won't respect you. In fact, actually, I'd give you your resignation now. Have you put your house on the market? And of course, she said, of course not. I would never say that to a friend or a colleague. But we can often have that double standard because our worst enemy can reside between our ears. We can so often be much more critical of ourselves than we would ever a friend or a valued colleague. We can beat ourselves up, stop ourselves going forward and avoid opportunities simply because our brains have pulled out a file that perceives risk, danger. But what if we left this voice solely in charge? What would be the outcome for you? If we are always in our own way, we hold ourselves back achieving what we have the potential to do. Taking time to hear our stories, thank them for doing their job, and creating that gap before we react allows us to bolster our well-being and affords us choice. So perhaps the next time you've got to do a presentation or an exam or a pitch, a job interview, an appraisal, whatever it is, just notice some of those thoughts. They're called automatic negative thoughts. I can talk about them being ants running around our heads. Catch the emotion and the story, check it out and change the script if it needs to. So you can choose your response. And so you can treat yourself in the same way as you would a valued friend. So I'm just going to stop there because I do have another tool. Tally, is there any questions that are come up? I can probably take one.
There is none yet, but I'd love, if anyone has any questions, please put them through the chat box, Q&A.
Fine.
Not yet, thank you.
No problem at all, no problem. So that was one tool I wanted to be able to give you. The next one is, well, the title says it itself. My goodness, if there's something certain at the moment, it's uncertainty. We crave, our brains crave a sense of reliability. It's one of the 7 drivers of trust or psychological safety. We put energy into finding a sense of control. We look to mitigate ambiguity. Now, we all have different tolerances to uncertainty and ambiguity. It differs in all of us based on our levels of resilience, our levels of experience, the situation itself, even down to how hungry you are, how tired you are, your mood state. It can shift our tolerance of how we face uncertainty. But ultimately, that piece I was saying earlier about our files, your brain is ultimately a pattern system, pattern matching system and predictive system. And in ambiguity and uncertainty, or in change, there are no files to call upon. But your brain feels safe, and it switches on the safe, that reward mechanism, allowing us to move forward and progress and to find solutions when it actually understands what's going on. I'm working with a lot of organisations at the moment and leaders to reshape the workplace, the workspaces, to reimagine how we can better work in a hybrid structure. As Tali said right at the beginning, we do actually have this wonderfully unique opportunity to really reshape our workspace and our workplaces. But we also need to ride this wave. And a part of that support is showing the individuals and leaders, how to manage, best manage uncertainty. Because we're processing this pandemic, what it means to us day by day. Our brains are swamped in uncertainty, insecurity, unreliability. And uncertainty is a little bit like a torn map. It's almost like the landscape has a missing piece. And because we can't create that whole landscape, it's very difficult to understand what our next steps are going to be able to calculate where we go next. And in the absence of information, we seek to fill in the gaps, to make sense of the ambiguity and uncertainty. And it's not unimaginatively, this in psychology, it's called information-seeking behaviour. But what it's doing, it's your midbrain is continually asking, it's put your brain on a threat level, even if it's just mild, it's scanning, going, what's going on? What does this all mean? What's happening right now? What's next? What does it mean for me? How do I find a solution to this? How do I find a way out? And actually, what it can do, it starts to drain our energy when we're in a threat state, even in a kindling way, a really low, mild threat state. We can feel quite lost, we can feel overwhelmed, we can feel exhausted and sometimes a bit on the edge, because actually we're just not sure where to go. And that's where our cognitive energy and our physical energy is being placed. So, control, that's what we're looking for. We're trying to fill in those gaps to make sense, to be able to exert our agency. Now, what we're doing here is trying to problem solve, and we do that through worry. We all worry. Worrying is our problem solving process. Without worry, we'd miss deadlines. We'd not bother to feed the cat before we went away. We wouldn't bother to prepare for the presentation. Worry is our problem solving system. It's fantastic for our survival. But of course, a lot of these we don't define as worries per se, because we're able to solve them. We're in control of them. Because stress is only distressing when the issue itself appears to be uncontrollable. And so much around us is out of our control. And when our brains perceive that our influence and our agency in any situation is stifled or absent, it triggers our threat response again. A bit like a warning signal, if you like, to find the way out and escape. But in that state of alert, it becomes far harder to be able to find the solutions, or to be able to find the wood for the trees, if you like, and to be able to find our pathways. So what we really need to be able to do is to be able to strengthen what is termed, and this is research going back to one of my favourite psychologists, J.P. Roter, if you want to know more about it. But he wrote about, and his theories and his research has been validated over many years, but it's about strengthening what he termed our internal locus of control. It not only helps us find paths, but it helps us to exert agency. which actually also directly supports our health and our well-being, as well as our productivity and our performance and all of those things. And part of this is focusing on even the smallest element that's in your control, using a tool called in or out. Now, I've put an example up here of thinking about the things that we may think about using remote working as an example, and we're all experiencing that to different levels. So I just thought I'd use this as an example. But the tool in or out, what's in my control? If it's in my control, it's your to-do list. You know, I can get it, I can tick it off. It's why we get a rush of dopamine, the feel-good chemical, when we're actually able to cross something off our to-do list. We've solved the problem. But so much can feel out of our control, and we can start to worry, and we can start to get stuck in that worry. And that's where the real problems come along. But we need to think about, ask yourself, what are your options? What's in your gift? Over 90% of what we worry about, we've shown in research, never actually happens. And should it actually come to pass, most of us are able to manage it far better than we actually thought. And I love the quote by J.K. Rowling, worry means you suffer twice. And to demonstrate the tool, as I say, I've used this. So just having a look at that, you know, just having a look here about some of the examples, some of the thoughts that people have when they're working remotely. Now, it could be anything, it could be any worry at all that you have. But anything that feels out of your control, notice those thoughts and catch that story again. And no matter how small it is, where you can catch, you know, and say, actually, I could do that. That's in my gift. They're the things I could do. Can't control everything, you can't control all of the events, but there is always something we can choose to do. And if that happens, your brain switches on the safety mechanism, it switches on the reward mechanism, it gives a sense of self of I can. And there's I'll be sending this out as part of a backup here, a small book around finding uncertainty in an uncertain world, and there's a bit more in that as well that I hope you'll find useful. But in or out, again, it's another cognitive evidence-based technique. Writing it down really helps. We have between 60 and 1,000 thoughts a day, and the vast majority you had yesterday and the day before, and before that, you know. And this quote for me really sums up the power of our own limitations and our ability to catastrophize, getting in our own way to be the best of our own selves. It's not about not worrying, but it's about how to get worry on our side, changing your relationship to the problem, take out what is most helpful, and to reappraise what is not. So really, to conclude, just to put it all together, we can choose our response. We are works in progress. We can learn and grow every day. We can change our story and choose our path. We can focus on what's in our control and what is in our influence. And we can treat ourselves with the same respect and value and compassion as we would a valued colleague and a friend. So that's the end of me. It's been very kind. The IICF said that I was happy, you know, they were happy for me to just promote. If you wanted to find out anything more, do please link with me. Follow me on Twitter, on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to know more about the Human Leadership series, again, just drop me a line, or if you want to know a bit more about our research, there's my book on there as well. But I'd love to hear from you, and I hope that that's been useful. But I'm going to hand over to Tally now to take us out.
Thank you so much. That was incredibly useful. Thank you for sharing your insights and the tools. A lot of those tools I use myself personally, and I find from a not only personal but from a professional capacity, it only enriches and enhances our relationship. So thank you so much, and I would encourage you all to give these tools a go. I'd like now to introduce Rebecca Lilly, who has worked in insurance, but her real passion lies in fashion. She's a qualified fashion and personal stylist and founder of Passage to Poise, and will share tips and advice on how looking good can contribute to our well-being. Welcome, Rebecca.
Oh, thank you so much, everyone. I'd just like to say a big thank you to the IICF for hosting this webinar at a critical time for people. And also I was really in awe of the speakers just then, and how much their ethos remains like mine, and the ingredients to set up my company, Passage to Poise. You'll see when I talk shortly about the psychology of dressing, how it really does overlap as well. So thank you very much to Jenna and Susanna for their really informative talks before. So a lot of people think that fashion is very superficial and it's for a certain person. And what I would like to say is, you know, I'm sort of worked in the finance sector for 7 years, and I've always found myself as under the insurance sector, and I was always very analytical and creative. And what I actually found was a funny story. So somebody said to me, a HR woman said to me, oh, we were just talking about you. And I sort of found myself getting, oh my goodness, what have I done? And they said, oh no, we were talking about how you dress, and oh, you know, it's vintage, it's always very formal. And I thought, oh, that's a very nice thing to have feedback on, which not everybody would feel approachable to say. And I started realizing that there were moments in my career as a sort of a mid-level analyst that I was going into meetings with people much more senior than me. And I felt very anxious about it. I felt very anxious, a bit of sort of imposter syndrome. Should I even be talking to these senior people? I mean, but the nature of my role, I had to. And I realized that the actual mental process of putting on, you know, a nice jacket, formal clothes and getting ready mentally prepared me at a young age in confidence to be amongst senior executives and to be taken seriously. It was an actual mental process that got rid of the anxiety to a certain extent. So part of my company, Passage to Poise, which I set up whilst working in insurance, offers bespoke personal styling solutions, which we do over Zoom. And we're actually hosting an event at the Royal Exchange, a digital event with luxury designers and members of the insurance industry to debate, does corporate style still matter in a Zoom age? It's a really hot topic at the moment. So just rewinding a little bit back, I mean, there was a quote by Oscar Wilde which said, "It is only shallow people who do not judge by appearance." Now, when you look at fashion and style, to me, they're two different things. So style is you take bits of the fashion trends and you accumulate an authentic sense of style. My company is called Passage to Poise because it's that journey. And so we take clients, we have a consultation with them, and we say, who are you in this moment? We are not about criticizing that you can't fit into jeans when you were 21. We're not about that. We are a friendly service that say, how can style and incorporate aspects of your personality to make you feel good enough to cope with those scenarios, such as going into the office. We don't want everyone to look like a mini celebrity. It's about a style, and we use image consultancy. I've trained with the London School of Styling, as have our team. So it's more about understanding the person and aspects of trends you would see in a magazine. So going back to the foundations of our company, which is really similar to Smart Works actually, and using the psychology of dressing, there's two strands to that. So the first is dressing indicates how we feel about ourselves. Now, we've always seen that person who's having a bad day, you know, their button is undone, or their tie's a bit loose, or their hair looks disheveled. And whilst I don't advocate judging people, subliminally, the message would say, oh, you know, they look a bit stressed, they're having a bad day. Clearly their time management isn't actually that effective because they didn't have time for themselves. That is the subliminal message that is coming across, whether we like it or not. So what we say, the polar opposite of that is when we are well groomed. It doesn't have to be a designer suit. When we are well groomed and wearing something that fits and flatters us, is that we are calm and collected, and our time management skills, which is needed for the office, is actually, we managed our time that morning. And I would say, especially in lockdown, the mental process of getting up, having a shower, doing your makeup, or whatever the case may be, getting actually physically ready for the day is mental preparation for the day ahead, whether you're on Zoom or not. It sets the tone, it sets you mentally ready. And also on the well-being side, it's a positive cycle of self-affirmation, which actually reaffirms that you are worth that. And you are worth that, giving yourself that time. So also what I would say about the psychology of dressing, which is also referred to as enclosed cognition, is it can actually enhance your mental state. If you think about it, we all had those duvet days in your pajamas, and you put, whether you're sick on the sofa watching daytime TV, and sometimes you can think, oh, I can't be bothered actually to go for that walk. It's about rewinding that when you're at home in the lockdown, and using that time to say, I'm worth it, literally. And what we do in our consultation processes is we say to people, what is in your wardrobe now? We can give you a wardrobe detox. People's budgets are tight. We're not about personal shopping for people without a budget. We want to celebrate who you are now. So one of our blogs is called not Transform Yourself, it's about rediscovery of oneself. So the person who felt confident, happy, attracting positive experiences and life opportunities is within you. And it's just these negative connotations, like Suzanne said in a very educated way, it's about what you tell yourself. And what we're saying is when you're getting dressed in clothes that fit and flatter you and complement your skin tone, and whatever the budget is, you are actually subliminally attracting better life opportunities because you say, I'm confident. And there's a few studies which actually back up, provide evidence in what I'm saying. So the psychology of dressing is you're communicating to the world who you want to be, how you want to be seen. Think of yourself as almost a brand. So it's much more deeper than a superficial wannabe fashion trend. It's actually showing up and saying to the world, I'm ready for the next opportunity. And there's two studies which I will end on, which advocate this. So there's Gina et al. 2010 did a study, the effect of wearing designer sunglasses. Now they put half of the people in the experiment in counterfeit sunglasses and the other half in real designer sunglasses. And what they did is they realized that the ones in the counterfeit sunglasses felt that they were pretending to be wealthy enough to wear those sunglasses. They felt that they were cheating the experiment, and the actual people wearing the authentic designer sunglasses perceived the other half and used words such as, oh, they must be dishonest or less ethical as people because of the fact that they were wearing counterfeit sunglasses. So whether you like it or not, what you wear can actually have a subliminal message of how people perceive you. So also we have as well how your individual dresses, the social sort of psychology side, is the attitudes, perceptions, feelings and behaviors shaped by clothes. So what we're saying there is when you look at somebody, instead of actually, you might have secondary beliefs. So if somebody is dressed well, you might think they're more attractive, you might think they're more successful than they actually are. So the psychology of dressing is a very powerful tool, and it's and my services are about being honest with yourself in terms of where you're at and where you want to be, and finding a destination poise, as we call it, is the coping skills to live a confident and abundant life, and that is accepting yourself and saying, actually, that overcoat that doesn't really do anything for me, I'm not going to cling on to it in the hope that I will lose weight. It's about saying, oh, okay, I can find another overcoat in my wardrobe that actually suits, fits and flatters me and shows me up to be the authentic person that I am. And that in turn will help your business as an authentic brand that is relatable. And I'll finish on a last study to evidence the psychology of dressing, which is what we use for our services. Frank and Gillivan in 1988 did a study to the extent to which players in black uniforms in hockey games were perceived as more aggressive by the referee. And that was a very interesting study, that they actually had the same amount of points and penalties. They had more penalties against them than the people in green hockey uniforms. And the referee said at the end that he felt they were more aggressive, even though there was exactly the same score count as well. So I'd just like to say thank you so much to the IICF and the very talented speakers. If anybody would like to know more about the digital panel discussion at the Royal Exchange in February 2021, please do drop me a message. I'm open to answer questions. It doesn't have to be a kind of paid consultation. I'm happy to help or give some style tips. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Rebecca. That was very insightful and really appreciated. We have a few questions that have come from. We've got a bit of time, so I'm keen that we kind of try and spend a bit of time on those. The first one is for, well, there's two for you, Suzanne. I'm going to try and wrap them together. Do you have any tips on how we can help others apply these techniques? And the same question, very similar, have come through around, you know, we're all, many of us experiencing the same level of worry and thinking about individuals, but how about teams and companies? So how can we take these tools that you've shared for us within our teams and organizations?
Completely. Excuse me. As with anything in terms of either leading ourselves or leading others, we need to put on the oxygen mask first and to try it on, because what we find is that as you build your own emotional literacy about using the tools, you actually get not only greater self-awareness, but you get others' awareness as well. And being able to share with others about how you use it, as much as you obviously want to share, and how that can be used in different situations helps enormously. But actually, every single one of these tools can be used on an individual basis, on a team basis, on a basis to inform organizational people strategy, policy review, all sorts of aspects. So aspects around the in or out, you know, it's incredibly simple. It's about actually getting a team together. Think about, let's just take something that's relatively benign. So maybe it's a project. Where are we going with it? What's it looking like? What are we all thinking here? What's going on? What are our worries? What are our concerns? And actually just sharing worries normalizes them. We often hold them back thinking perhaps it's only me that's thinking this way. But actually, if you're worrying, other people will be worrying. And actually your brain is looking out to look for that risk mitigation. So your worry could be very valid, you know, valid to be actually voiced. Once we get them out there as a team, what you can then start doing, okay, let's have a look at these. Let's have a look at each one of these thoughts that we've got, all these concerns and worries. What are we already doing? What's already in our control? What's our to-do list, our action list? Great, fantastic. Let's notice those and have conscious awareness that we are exerting some agency. And let's have a look at the things that we think are absolutely out of our control. Where can we exert agency? Where can we, what's in our influence, no matter how small? And that's on a group basis. They are incredibly powerful techniques. I've used them with very large teams. I've used it through restructuring, change, projects, certainly times like this with so much uncertainty. But it is normalizing that we all experience this. If I could see you all and I asked you a question, has anybody here never felt stressed or anxious? I'd hope that not one of you would ever put up your hand, because that's diagnosis normal. We are designed to notice the threats, and then we're designed to be able to try and problem solve them. It's about being able to put the things we can solve on one side, and either collectively or individually, or perhaps if you're a leader or a coach or a mentor, using this tool to help people think about outside the box, if you like, the things that they actually could exert control over. Just to give you a really slightly abstract example, but always makes me really think, is that this, a lot of this research, and there's many other pieces of research around this. Well, there was a piece of research done with children in really, really difficult situations. And what they found is that when they were able to understand this tool, translated into a young mind, but to be able to think, I can choose which side of the bed I get out of. I can choose how to tie up my shoelaces. Even something that small can help your brain think it can exert control. So it's a really great question. It is about trying it on. It's about practicing it for yourself, building your own self-literacy. They do take practice, but it is absolutely about being able to bring this out into group sessions and to be able to apply these really simple tools that are evidence-based in whichever situation you find yourself in. So I hope that's been useful. I'd love to go into a lot more detail. There's so much more, but yes, that's really...
No, that's incredibly useful, and I think, you know, what you share in terms of putting the oxygen mask for yourself first, I think that's so critical. Practice yourself experiencing the tools and then transferring them and encouraging and inviting your team members. I'm very conscious of time. We could be here for so many more hours exploring and unpacking a lot of this. I would like to thank all of our speakers today. Jenny, Rebecca, Suzanne, thank you so much. I would also like to thank Waitment for hosting this event. Thank you so much. And for all of you joining us today, without you, we wouldn't be here. And I would very much like to invite you, if you're able to make a contribution and a donation, which will support the communities that we're in currently during the pandemic. So thank you, and I wish you all well. Keep safe, look after yourselves. Thank you.